This podcast is rated E for explicit.
I'm not looking to settle down. We can hang out, we can do our thing, but I'm not trying to go exclusive.
I played priest to a fuckboy with many tales to tell.
But obviously, you can tell someone's catching feelings for you. Mm-hmm. But you're also like, well, I like you.
And it seems,
but I don't know if I like you enough to where I can just give up what I'm doing.
His confessions,
that's where the fuckboy tendencies start coming in at.
Opened the gates of hell.
There's a dirty game. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is, because feelings don't get spared if you're out here.
Tales of his schemes poured like gasoline into the dens we dwell.
If each of these persons are getting their needs met, what's the danger or problem here?
The board has assembled with fire in their eyes to dismantle the character of all fuckboys and bring them down to size.
I know that you're not getting it regularly. I know you're not, because if you were constantly getting all this sex, you wouldn't have the opportunity to pull multiple women.
I also don't think it's a problem if your needs are being met and there is a conversation about it. You don't know. You might have met me. I just got out of a relationship, and you know what? All I really want is a fuck buddy.
If you are a fuckboy, you might want to read these files, or at least take a listen to what has been realized.
Seducing her and tricking her is the fun part.
That's too much work, in my opinion.
If you feel like you're sweating, you might want to check these dials.
So you don't have what it takes to be a fuckboy?
No, I don't. I don't have what it takes to not be myself.
Because the heat that you're getting is not from these Georgia skies.
This is what I want to do. This is what I'm willing to explore. You want to ride with me on that?
I really have a hard time putting him squarely in the fuckboy box. I feel like he's either on the way out of it. There's just way too much carry in what he's saying.
Respectfully, I think it's therapy that's needed.
You met me in the midst of many things. Shedding skin, sprout wings, looking at life as a spiritual being through a human lens, having conversations with God about so many things. This show is your invitation. The poet God is the conversation.
Not just any old Joe can be a fuckboy. At least that's what the fuckboys say. Big dick energy and a knack for being good at being bad are among the minimum requirements for the fray. Good at being a guilty pleasure to whomever you provide pleasure for. Basically, a fuckboy thinks that he can turn a housewife into a whore. But not every woman will be so easily played. Oh, be sure, some will be much more than he bargained for.
So an F-boy literally never makes you feel secure. He never makes you feel like you are the only one. He is yours and he's everybody else's. And he makes sure to let you know that he's a very attractive guy or he's got a lot of money.
And this is a phrase that gets thrown a lot quite often by women, and it has a negative connotation, but I personally never saw it as a bad thing. What that means is you're a guy that likes to fuck, right? Which is basically every man.
These kind of type of guys seem super confident, but it's only a outward confidence. It's like a hollow box. So the outside is beautiful, like a present. wrapped up beautifully, but inside the box is empty.
You can't be a fuckboy and be really bad with women. That doesn't exist, right? So it's basically like the male version of a slut. But again, I never saw that as a bad thing.
And you kind of feel like, oh my God, he actually likes me. Like, this amazing guy actually really, really likes me. You start to feel flattered without actually doing your due diligence and checking this guy's bullshit character, which I always talk about. I'm always about character. It's not about the outside. It's about what's inside, okay? And that's where a lot of us go wrong.
To me, it's always been interesting when girls will say to me, you're a fuckboy. You're like a fuckboy. Are you saying that I can get a lot of pussy? Yes, please.
In Confessions of a Fuckboy, Season 5, Episode 8, Adrian took us on a journey deep into a fuckboy's mentality. We will revisit some of those clips as we unpack that interview in my conversation with the board. A conversation we began by defining what a fuckboy is and what he isn't. Now buckle up with me as we take a deep dive into what I call fuckboy fuckery.
It's not to me about how much sex you're having or how many people you're having sex with. It's about the honesty you have in your dealings with them. And I think it's about how the consideration you have for them when you engage in your other activities outside of them, because, you know, there are health issues to consider and all of these things. So it's like, if a person is saying, for instance, you know, for safety reasons, I would like a situation to be, for instance, exclusive. And it's okay to not want that, but be honest with them about that. And I think, like, as you go around, you know, gallivanting and doing your stuff all around the place, be conscious of the fact that you eventually can go back to this person and affect them in a way based on what you've caught somewhere else. So, and I think people who don't take those two things into account, I consider them to be that for what is, yeah.
I agree with part of that. I definitely think that responsibility and stuff is a big deal, but I've just listened to the way you described it. I feel like if they're really a fuckboy, that whole second part you said about being conscious about what they're doing to other people, that's not going to be in their thinking, right? Like, I feel like my impression of what a fuckboy is really simply not caring. You're out there doing whatever and doing it on your own terms and to your own benefit, right? Without any consideration for what's going on with the other people, right? And I do think that, you know, despite what that quote said, I don't think a big dick is important. Mm-hmm. It's how you use it, and you make people want you, right? But then you don't care about what's going on with them. It's just the energy they can bring back to you.
100%. I agree with it, but it is definitely heavy on I'm not going to be honest with you in this process. So yes, I'm going to do whatever I want, but I'm going to lie, cheat, and steal, so to speak, in order to get what I want. I don't even give you the opportunity to say that you're willing to do this with me. I'm just going to do it.
My perception of a fuckboy is a dishonest sexual partner. That's basically it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say, oh, well, I just play around a lot. But I mean, there's a lot of people that play around a lot and they still, for whatever reason, get you to come back. Mm-hmm. But after you've messed with a fuckboy, in my mind, you don't go back there. You've touched that and you're done, because they've obviously given you the impression that you're not important enough. So it depends on your level of self-confidence, whether you keep going back. If a fuckboy is able to pull a girl back multiple times, it's because she has no self-respect for herself. You know, there's people that will deal with a fuckboy and then be like, okay, well, I've experienced that. Thank you. You know, bye. But I feel like the biggest part of this, like, you know that this person is not going to be honest with you in any respect of the word. Yeah. Like, and it depends on how important you play that on your sexual partner. You may not care if your sexual partner is honest with you or not, you know, but a lot of people do.
So I think back in my mind, because I think in my mind, this to me is a more modern term, because when I was growing up, I never heard that term at all. It was always like playboy. And that was a term that I kind of use and reference because it kind of fits everything that you guys are saying. But I also think sometimes women who are part of this scenario may not be aware. Because sometimes there are times where the person tells them, And there are other times where it's hidden. Whereas they're going about intentionally with multiple partners, not informing each of the other partner that somebody else is around.
Right.
Other times they're forthcoming and saying, okay, this is who I am. You decide if you want to come or not. But I think sometimes it's deceitfulness, selfishness, and control that part of the whole scenario with them.
Yeah. It's funny because part of my thought is I do think years ago was only the term playboy, but I think there is a difference between playboy and fuckboy.
Yeah.
I think to me, playboy is someone that you're aware that they carry themselves in this sort of way. A fuckboy is this person that puts up this disguise, right?
Yes.
It is this person that, in a lot of these spaces, they come off as this good guy, this person that you can see something with, which is why you're willing to spend this time and maybe do things slightly out of the ordinary for you to stick around with them a little bit longer, even though you get all of these flags, because they are deceitful and lying and carrying themselves in this way, where a playboy is just like, yeah, no, I have multiple women. This is what it is. You know it and you're aware of it.
It's glamorized, the playboy.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas the fuckboy is not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because it seems like you were reading my notes. When I was listening back to the episode, I was thinking about, when does dating become deceitful? These tactics that I know people have different definitions of what dating is, and I think you gotta make sure that when you are dating somebody, that you and them both understand what your definitions are, and that you're on the same page with your definitions. But then when does these dating tactics border into deceit? As I was listening to Adrian in the Confessions of a Fuckboy episode, he talked about being a shapeshifter.
If you're seeing 8 women, and it's only 7 days in a week, you're just not going to be able to do that.
Right.
So you have to, you have to reinvent yourself several times.
I see.
Just be real.
Reinvent yourself several times. I love it.
You have to reinvent yourself. You have to become like a shapeshifter, in order for it to work. And honestly, for a while, it's kind of fun.
Thinking about that shape-shifting thing, I thought something he said was really significant, because I'm going to just tell y'all right off, I think that he's not really a fuckboy. I think he's a fuckboy wannabe who has fuckboy tendencies, but he still cares too much. So now, but he does obviously know the game. Mm-hmm. And when he was talking about shape-shifting, he did say something that really resonated with me, is that it's not about the person. Mm-hmm. It's about the situation. Mm-hmm. So whatever situations he's in, that's what he shape-shifts to, because it's not about you. And that's where one of my problems with the fuckboy is that it's not about you. It's what I'm trying to get out of this situation.
I thought when he said that, he was admitting to adjusting his personality to what he thinks his partner wants. So if he thinks that she wants a player, he'll play up on that. If he thinks that she wants a good guy that someone would be impressed, her friends would be impressed by, then he plays up on that. Mm-hmm. Like, if he thinks that she's impressed by money, then he will play up, oh, I have money.
Yeah.
Or, whatever it is that she is looking for. Yes.
But I don't disagree with you on that, but I do feel like it's really what he wants to get out of that situation. Because even though he's playing up to what it is that she wants, it's still about what he's going to be able to get out of it in return.
But what he wants is to have sex. That's what he said. He wants to get sex from these women.
It's to stroke his ego.
True.
It's literally to stroke his ego. You shapeshift in order for people to give you this satisfaction of feeling like you are good enough. That's really what I take from it. Mm-hmm. Because for sure, yes, it could be, if you want somebody that comes off as a good guy, I can do this. But what makes me feel better is when you give me that satisfaction of being like, oh, he's a good guy. Feel great.
Yeah, you're right. Like, you're buying into the act.
Able to show
yes.
Right.
Because I don't think it's always just about sex. I agree with you on that. It's about what makes him feel good.
Yeah.
Do you think he's trying to get them to pay his bills?
Some fuckboys, yes. I know to me, that is when we're talking about stereotypes of fuckboys,
right?
That is one of my number ones.
They'd be like, oh, let me borrow your car, let
me wreck your car. Let me take my other girls in your car.
100%. I mean, we also heard about the breakdown of the bills. So for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Being able to have a triple to split the income 3 ways for a household. So it could very well even play a part of that as well.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, I forgot that.
It could also be about the need, wanting to feel wanted.
Absolutely.
By multiple people. And that strokes somebody's ego to the highest. When you can have multiple people wanting you or needing you, it's worth a lot.
But that's the difference between a fuckboy and a player, because a player will have multiple people wanting them for the person that they are. They don't need to shapeshift into something different for each person. Everybody's attracted to some part of that person that makes them want to hang out with this person.
Is shifting to become that person that you're wanting, as opposed to the playboy is already there. They don't have to shift. So this person is manipulating the situation to be what you're wanting it to be.
So can I tell you something that resonated me with that statement about multiple people wanting you is that story about being in the call center, and he just woke up to the idea, oh, wait a minute, multiple people want me. I can use this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so the thing to me is I think of it is multiple levels of it, right? It is coming from a space where he even said, like, I didn't even get my first kiss until 17, right? So it was never, in my opinion, it is a thing of you never got play, right? You never had the opportunity to explore this. So now that you are getting it at an older age, it is an overwhelming thing that now it's like a drug to you. Right. And you are going to do anything to continue to chase that high, where this is where you are shape-shifting into, hey, you seem to like it this way. I'm going to do that just to play into you liking me because I've never experienced this before. And I don't want to lose that feeling.
Yeah, I think like listen to it. I got a sense that this whole journey for him, it's a part of it is about validation. Like it's, cause like you said, when he was younger, he said, he shied away from female attention and stuff, or he just didn't get any play, as you say. And I think it's one of those things where as you grow older, it's almost like you need to prove to yourself that you're capable of, being in this position and being the person who everyone wants. And it's just like this, it seems like he's just in this pursuit of like of self-organization, I guess, like trying to validate that he is, of a certain caliber, I guess. So it was interesting to listen to that, I guess.
That's why I asked the question about the race, because I wanted to know whose eyes was his ego built upon, whose perceptions of him, whose impressions of him shaped how he then started to see himself. Because there was a part in the interview where he talked about having his physical appearance change, and then how that, projected this image that everybody, the people that he was dealing with, how they were seeing him, right? And so that whole trajectory, your physical appearance changes, you start getting a certain type of attention from, people, and then how that comes back to you and then reinforces the circle of what you're doing and that cycle.
So you're saying that women sexualized him, so now he feels like it's okay to sexualize women and use them because a few women treated him like a piece of meat.
And so I'll say, I guess, but the BBC comment came on the heels of that. Is that not how it came?
That is.
It came on the heels of that. So I was thinking, are these white women? Are these women of other races who have this impression of what a black man offers or can offer, and you are that, right? At least they have a curiosity and they want to find out.
Right.
And so you can play on that.
I think it's a matter of ease of access. And I say it in the sense of, if you were going off of this notion of BBC, right? you have to assume, and it's not that it's 100% the case, but you're going to assume Black women have already dated and slept with other Black men, right? It is just a product of opportunity is how they look at it. But if it's a white person, a white woman, she may have maybe one, maybe two. But if she's had multiple partners, chances are she hasn't had many Black men.
Oh,
so
you're saying
that ease of opportunity is now I can step in because if you are fantasizing and fetishizing about this,
yes,
I can now be that person.
I'm here for you.
I'm easy to get in because that's the only ploy that I need to have.
And she probably, if she's a white woman, doesn't have as many BBCs to compare with his to see where he stands in the whole lineup of things.
And there's also just different things that you could present. There are different things culturally between us. And I don't even mean to say it in a weird or funny kind of way. When you think of other races that fantasize or fetishize Black people, you have to come across as nice. You're studious, you're educated, you have a good job. Like, those are just the basic level of things you have to get across to then be accepted in that world. Whereas, not that we don't want that as among Black people as well, but there is a swag or a way that you carry yourself that you also need to present to others within Black culture. So it's not as easy to just come off, in my opinion, as this quote unquote playboy or fuckboy amongst Black women. In my opinion, I feel like it's more
the big dick energy that people can recognize.
Right. There's more to yourself than just this outward presence. There's a aura that you have to carry with yourself. Wherewith I feel like white women is just, I'm a Black dude. I got a big dick. What's up? You want to see it?
So, just listen to you talk about that because it brings up a really important thing that I was thinking about too. It's cultural too, right? There is a cultural exploration too, but it brings me back to the idea of dating. Like, all the stuff you mentioned would be somebody they may be willing to date. But do they need all that stuff in place if they're willing to just sleep with them?
Well, I think it's what makes it easy, right? I think it's what makes it easy. We live in a world right now that I think, honestly, white people that aren't racist don't want to be called racist. So you are even a little bit more accepting of things and you can kind of close your eyes to certain things because you don't want to come off problematic. So you will accept things just to not be problematic, where somebody else will call you out on your bullshit. Like, bro, you didn't call me in 2 weeks and now you think you have the right to call me and think I'm gonna go out with you? Absolutely not. We're not doing that. Right. So I think that culturally, there are a little bit of different expectations that can happen and play out because of that.
And the reason I'm asking that too, because I've seen that some people are willing to accept less if they're just wanting to sleep with them. But if they're going to bring them home to their families, and that's the dating part I'm talking about, they require a lot more.
But I don't disagree with that. But I also think these relationships can't be lasting long. You can't, it is impossible to tell me you are casually dating somebody for a year. You've never met anybody that they know. You've also never introduced anybody you know to this person. I'm not saying 100% impossible, but the chances of that are slim. So this is in a phase where if you are thinking of dating, this is probably within a 3-month time period. So you haven't quite built up to that standard to be like, okay, here's my line. Now, let's talk for real, right? Because the conversation of, so what are we? He's already mentioned how he runs from that.
The dating pool is so, how can I say, suspect nowadays.
Yeah.
To where people meet someone and they kind of want to lock it down. Like, they don't want to waste time. They see potential and they're just like, you know what? When I hear the term, what are we or where do we stand? It's kind of like, yo, I just met you like 2 weeks ago, boo.
So you guys are mentioning relationships. These are not relationships in the concept that we're talking relationships. So I think also I'll be a little devil's advocate when we talk about him dating outside of the race. if each of these persons are getting their needs met, what's the danger or problem here? If the white woman is getting her needs met by this black guy and he's getting it because it's easy, what's the danger here?
Well, my thing is that I know that you're not getting it regularly. I know you're not, because if you were constantly getting all this sex, you wouldn't have the opportunity to pull multiple women. Why aren't you like constantly using the same girls or 2-3 girls? Why are you going for 8? Because these girls are moving on from you.
Well, I think that too, because I think the girls at some point will realize, because if it's 8 and it's 3, every time we meet, it's the same type of situation.
Right.
At some point, if you're smart enough, you're going to get out because you realize that this is not going anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
And if you want something more, you're going to move on. So he has to keep changing the number to fit the scenario.
So to your original question there, I don't think there's any problem if everybody's needs are getting met, but they're obviously not.
Right.
Which is what's forcing the need for change or the need to evaluate what's going on.
I also don't think it's a problem if your needs are being met and there is a conversation about it, right? Because where my issue in all of this is you can honestly meet somebody and be like, hey, you know what? I'm not looking to be in a relationship. I'm looking for something super casual. My idea is we can maybe hang out sometimes and we can hook up whenever we want to. There are going to be people that are accepting of that. But why go after people that are not agreeing to that? That's where my problem is.
Yes.
Is you're not giving people the choice. And I don't know, like, there are tons of things that I've seen, and a lot of women have even said, like, just give me the choice. Because you don't even understand. I may be down for it. You don't know. You might have met me. I just got out of a relationship, and you know what? All I really want is a fuck buddy. But you haven't even given me that option.
Right.
You now are presenting yourself and carrying yourself in this sort of way that makes me think X, Y, and Z. And I'm sure because of the juggling of these numbers, what makes it last even a little bit is you've already started to lay down the groundwork. Like, hey, you know what? I'm busy. I work this job that keeps me on this amount of hours. I have extracurricular activities. I'm studying for this. I'm doing this. So you're laying it down so that when they reach out to you and you don't respond, your response is like, hey, you know what? I'm so sorry. I was busy with work. You've already set that down so that this person is like, oh yeah, that's the truth. So you hold on to it until you get to a point where you're like, I just can't take this anymore. And that's why I do even think sometimes it can get to like a 2 or 3 months, because you get to the point where you're like, I've heard what you said, but I just can't accept it anymore.
But I think he's going to get to a point where he's just tired. He doesn't feel like she's worth the effort. I'll just go to another person that's easy. Because like every time I got to explain to her why I couldn't meet her here, I couldn't do this with her, why I couldn't see her friend, why I couldn't meet her family, why, all this stuff. And it gets tiring. And he's just like, you know what? This is becoming too much like work. I need to, because he doesn't want a relationship that works. He wants a relationship that's easy and convenient for him and doesn't take into the effect anybody else's feelings.
Well, I think it's all about him. As I said, the whole scenario is all about him. He doesn't really care what you're wanting or what your needs are. Mm-hmm. He may show or act like he does. Deep down, he doesn't care.
Right.
It's all about what he's going to get out of the situation for a particular time or for how long he wants to stretch this out for.
Yeah.
So he's stringing you along to keep you along to make you feel invested for him, but it's never about you.
But it's almost fun for him to pretend to be this dream person for her. Like, oh, I can fit into the mold of what you want. And
Almost.
Well, yes, you're right. It is fun.
Because I think that's part of the value. I think that's part of what he's getting out of it.
Yeah, what he's not admitting is that it's fun for him. The part of seducing her and tricking her is the fun part. The fun part.
That's too much work, in my opinion.
So I'm just going to take it that you don't have what it takes to be a fuckboy.
No, I don't. I don't have what it takes to not be myself. Right. And I think that that's the biggest thing. I'm not saying that I don't have what it takes if I ever wanted to have multiple partners. I could do that if I wanted to.
But that's a different thing. Just having multiple partners is very different from being.
No, 100%. Because my difference is I'm going to be upfront and honest about it, right? I'm going to say, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm willing to explore. You want to ride with me on that?
So you're bringing up some points over and over again that really just drums home what I've been thinking this whole time, is that there needs to be conversations about expectations. And that's what's not happening.
But the thing is that he doesn't want the woman that wants that. He wants the woman that he has to trick and seduce into that. He wants the good girl, the girl that's not wilding out, because he can find a girl like that who just wants to play. The problem is she just doesn't want to play with just him. So he wants someone who wants just him
because it's an insecurity.
Right.
In our current example, he said he friend zones them.
Yes.
He friend zones them because they are not stroking his ego. That's literally what it is. It is a stroke of the ego. It's a matter of, what can you do to make me feel good?
Right.
Right? Because even like you mentioned, he can get sex multiple times from one woman. It is not that. I don't feel like it's just that, right? Because then even there's a confusion of, oh, well, I don't want sex on the first night, but I need to get it within 2 weeks. Like, there is just so much back and forth and confusion with it that really, for me, it boils down to who is going to make me feel the best about myself because of how they look and see me.
Right.
And what they're willing to give to me in this time period.
We'll be right back after these messages. When you wish upon a star and you're granted a man who meets you where you are,
what a fox.
Except you wonder if you missed a step. Or did your fairy godmother forget to grant you a man that can pick up a check?
In my lifetime, I have never had a 50-50 anything.
Well, we found ourselves kept in the loop of a conversation, apparently being had around the nation.
We hang out, he's great.
On what happens in some
I am more productive at work.
Situations.
I'm more productive at everything that I'm doing.
When you've been swept by a man
6 months later,
taking you all the way to cloud 9.
He is a wonderful human being, and he has made me exponentially happier.
But not too fast.
He doesn't have such a great job.
Because he can't pay the fine.
I'm not talking like $10,000 difference. I'm talking about somebody's making $100,000.
He can't.
Someone's making 30.
Pay the dine.
These are the things that I need you to do in order to continue to be this person.
He can't pay the wine.
Love is its own separate thing. And if you're comfortable with that, then his financial status shouldn't even matter.
But in the bedroom, he scores.
I mean, if you're not taking care of nothing
all the time,
then you need to be taking care of something. And that something needs to be me.
Right. And from your heart, he blows your mind.
Oh, you're going to sex me whenever I want.
From the start, he's sweet and he's kind, but the bills,
find a partner that's going to be there for you,
are never paid on time.
Minus worrying about what their checkbook looks like.
So the question lingers yet.
And he could have been a kept man, but he wasn't good enough to be a kept man.
What is it worth to you?
A lot of people are broken coming into relationships.
To have a kept man.
If you want to drive me around 100% of the time
on deck,
you can be kept in my house. Trust me.
Listen to episodes 1 and 2, season 6, and get your kept man fix. Since podcast apps are up to tricks, subscribe directly with us at thepoetgod.com, because these hoes, these apps ain't loyal. So subscribe with us at thepoetgod.com and put these notification problems in the soil.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking because when it first started, I remember you asked at a point, "Are you even a fuckboy?" Because he had said something about having a conversation with them and telling them to let him know if they do develop feelings and the situation does change.
If you find yourself getting attached, you need to let me know. Because I look at it where a lot of guys wouldn't care because it's all about them, but, for me personally, it's like, look, this is what it is. If you find yourself like getting attached or things like that, communicate because there's a strong possibility, like I may feel the same way too.
But then where I had questions was when he got to the part where he said essentially when he encounters women who also are trying to play the game he's playing, he friend zones them. He doesn't want that situation, right?
Unless I'm really feeling you, I feel like I'm probably putting in too much work. Especially knowing that I can just probably hit up someone else and I don't have to go through all this. Mm-hmm. So it's like a lot of times what that leads to is to put you in a friend zone. Because you've kind of deadened or numbed the primal aspect of, me pursuing sex with you. Now you're just a homie. Mm-hmm. And now when you're ready to be like, okay, I'm ready to go with you, I don't see you that way no more.
Oh, okay.
You're fine, but there was a window that I could have got with you, but you was giving me the okie doke. You was giving me the runaround.
So how long would you say that window is? Like, what time frame is that window?
That window would be a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks.
Yeah, there's a lack of like self-honesty there. It's like you're not just out here just trying to have fun. I think you're out here seeking validation and you need to be honest with yourself about that. And that's what he's lacking.
And that's why I was saying I really have a hard time putting him squarely in the fuckboy box. I feel like he's either on the way out of it. There's just way too much caring in what he's saying.
Respectfully, I think it's therapy that's needed. And
that could be very much the case. Like, I mean, I was thinking about a lot of the stuff he put up as being fuckboyisms, right? But then he also expressed just genuinely things that said, but I'm not that way. I don't do that. I didn't have this experience. I don't do this to people, which made me question, you know what? You got like 90% of these things, but that 10% is keeping you from being, from me just saying you're just straight up.
For sure. And I say it not even to be rude, honestly. I do agree with you. I think that if there was a handbook of being a fuckboy, he's read it. So he's like, I understand the concepts of what it takes to be one, but there are feelings involved that don't quite allow him to be that 100%. And I do think that the feelings are more internal than external. It is a matter of how he feels about himself. Yep. Because if you notice, even in this conversation that he has, go back and listen to how many times he calls himself a nice guy. Mm-hmm. Right? He takes pride on being a nice guy. And I think that even in that, sometimes that's where he may find challenges in it, because before he started experiencing women, he was always kind of the shy, nice guy. But now he starts to get women, and it's that challenge of not being himself, but he has to shapeshift to get his ego stroked for what he wants to.
Well, let's just say that let's just not categorize any man that's not a creep as a nice guy. He's just being like, oh, I'm a nice guy. And I'm like, not really, because the things that you're doing are not nice.
Right.
But, you call yourself that because I guess he doesn't put himself into a predator category. Mm-hmm. So you can't there's not just two types of men, predators and nice guys. There's a range of men. And many shades of bay.
Many shades.
Right. And, so I'm just kind of like, don't use the term nice guy and think that we're all thinking that of you, because we're not. You're just a guy.
notice that I mentioned that he's 90% of the way there. So I was wondering when y'all were going to challenge me on that because I've already defined him as being almost all the way there. So being a nice guy can be part of the mix, right? And I think that one of the things I'm getting out of this conversation is that you can be a fuckboy, right? Or
maybe even a gentleman.
Right. And still encompass many of these things, right?
Yes. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Well, going back and listening to the episode, I think part of it too, I think he didn't really talk about this too. I think he talked about experiencing a lot of things later in life. And we don't know if it was a choice or he was that people were not validating him or he was getting a lot of rejection early on. So we don't know the source of him starting later in life and then later on moving, then later on changing physically. So now I think there was a shift in him, meaning, again, we don't know this because he may have been rejected. Now he's getting all of the attention now. So it's switched. So now he has full control now of the situation. Whereas in rejection, you can't do anything with that. There's nothing you can do about that. But if you're getting all the attention now, you can control the narrative of that. So I think that could be, again, he didn't really dive into that. I'm just assuming that, but it could be part of the whole scenario.
Well, he thinks he's in control because he thinks that I'm controlling them with my sexuality. I'm controlling them with my personality. But if they're just using you for if they're using you for the BBC, then you're not in control. They are using you as a tool.
He said if you get all the way to the bottom, that changes the dynamic and how vulnerable the woman is.
But it is, but I agree with the control still because if you even remember, it's like I'm going to see you at my time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, hey, you know what? I don't have anything going on this weekend. Hey, let me hit this one up. Oh, you're not available? I'm good here. Right? Next. So I agree. It is a lot about the control of it. It's even, I'm going to bring this point. It's even about control where he talks about, I don't even think that I want to explore poly. I'd explore a throuple, right? Because it's control.
Right.
Poly means you can go out and date whoever you want.
Right.
But I want control over this because what you won't do is have another man, but you could be with another woman and both of y'all will be here for me.
my entertainment. You can both play around, but you're not around them 24/7. They could play without you. Right. I hope you know that. So it's like, you're thinking that they're just sexual tools for you to use and help pay bills. But I mean, these are people with real emotions. And if they are around each other a lot and you're not there, I think they're going to be closer to themselves than you. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to be feeling some kind of way when they're playing with each other and you're out there like stroking your dick, looking at it.
But I truly don't even think that he sees that because I think he feels like the unicorn in that because he would be the only guy. So again, it is still
he's over emphasizing his penis.
Yeah, he doesn't know. I think a lot of people don't, like there's guys who think they wouldn't care that say their girlfriend cheats with a girl or sleeps with another girl. They think they wouldn't care, but they've never been in the situation. He doesn't, I don't know that he knows what he's talking about, but I will say, we talked about this a bit, I guess, prior, but there is an element of just insecurity that it's like, he doesn't feel like a woman is competition to him. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that. Like she doesn't have a penis to measure up to his.
Yes.
So he's cool with that. Like another guy, it's an entirely different dynamic.
Well, his incorrect assumption that he can hit this magic spot that will just turn her into a bumbling idiot is incorrect, sir. It's incorrect.
If he's laying it down, trust me, like a lot of things will I won't say get forgiven, but
so basically
she may circle the block.
So basically you're saying like basically how good you are at sex will cover a multitude of sins?
It depends on how vulnerable she is. Because a lot of people be like, oh, hell no, that's fine. But there are a lot of women out here that just, they digmatize. Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys, they focus on that. They like, once you You just unlocked Pandora's box.
I'm dead.
You just trust me.
I can hit that spot too by myself. So why are you acting like you're the only person who can hit this spot? You know, so you thinking that if I just find the right way to turn her, she's going to become my sex slave. No, that's not going to happen. She can use you as a tool, though. She can continue to use you to get that same feeling. But if you really, really like her, then you're holding back. She's going to hold back from you.
And so I do wonder about that really, really like her thing, because I feel like just listening to him talk that there's going to be situations where he actually is into them.
Yeah.
Right. But there's still the avoidance of going all the way, because he even mentioned, I don't know if that's going to happen to me and whether or not I'm going to want to do that. Right. I feel like a lot of that insecurity you're talking about just really got encapsulated in the, what if that happens to me? kind of feeling that he was there.
Well,
Somebody's hurt him.
He's going to end up being that uncle, that lonely uncle that's always like, oh, he's a player. Everybody says he's a player in his own mind, but everybody's going to be like, yeah, lonely uncle who brings a different woman every Christmas, you know, and we got to pretend like we didn't see a different girl at Thanksgiving, you know? So he's going to be that guy. And it's going to be like,
so close to
when are you, when are you going to realize, oh, cause I have a few of those uncles too. You know, oh, I had one that would, you know, was cutting him up strawberries for breakfast. And we were like, oh, sweet summer child, you're not going to be here long.
Crazy.
She thinks she's special because she's cutting up strawberries. We're like, oh my God, sweet summer child.
I must use that somehow.
That was good.
You know, I think a fear that a lot of people have, whether or not they admit to it or not, is the fear of being alone.
Absolutely.
Right? And while I do think that subconsciously he may even have that fear, it is comfortable for him to have this rotation. I do think that somebody did hurt him in the past, and that's why I don't want to get deep. I'd rather have a rotation. I'm not alone, because if you don't want, again, if you're not available for me this time, no worries. Who's next on the list? I can get to somebody else. I won't be alone, but I just need to give enough so that I'm not alone.
Because there is a waiting list, he did say.
But the thing is, it's like, if you're with number 3 on that list, you're always going to know that there's 2 other people that didn't want to be with you. That this third person is being with you, and they're like the last option for you. But for you, it's a sense of control, because it's like, well, she's not here. She's only here because I want her to be, you know, but there's 2 other people that you wanted that didn't want to be with you at this point.
For that night. Night.
Right.
They're still in rotation for the next opportunity.
Right.
Because he will call them for the next time.
Correct.
But I'm with you on this though. He had to get those 2 rejections first, and there's got to be some feelings around that.
Well, at some point, you know, when you call someone up and they're so excited to hear your voice, and you can feel it in the phone. Yeah. You can feel that they're excited. They're eager. But then after a while, after you've blown them off for like a week, when you call them again, you're not going to get that eager person. You're not, their feelings towards you have changed. They may not have gone, but they have changed still.
Yeah. I don't even know. Now thinking about it, I was like, is it even still for that night? Because he did say, like, he'll text you, and if it's not on his terms, if you're not available, he's on to the next one. And that might just be the end of the situation for him. And like, I guess maybe that's why he feels the need to have this many in the pipeline, because I don't know, from my perspective, it's not feasible. Like, and so I don't know, but that's my perspective. So I'm like, because maybe he gets, the first on his list is like, hey, like, are you down for this tonight? And then they're unavailable. And that is an ego. It's a strike against his ego. So he goes to the next one, and then he can maybe reconfront that situation. I don't know what it is there, but like, I'm trying to make sense of the numbers, and that's the only way I can rationalize all of this.
Oh, ye of little faith. No, I feel like y'all think that this can be an exclusive one-day thing. Speaking as somebody who's had 4 people in my bedroom in one day, Not all.
Well, damn, dude, I don't know about that situation.
Not all. There was a time when I gone through a breakup and it wasn't sex. It was just having them there, right? After one left, it was a couple hours, but it was really all of what you talked about earlier was about being able to prop up the ego. Somebody wants me, right? And I feel like you can go through all 8 of them in 2 days if you really try. Right? Because it's really about that feeling. It's not always about sex. Now, if your goal is to have sex, you're going to have to spread that out a little bit.
Right. So, Calvin, how much of a percentile would you consider the fuckboyness to be in you? How much percent?
I'm going to go with 15%.
Here's the thing, though. So, like, I will also play partial devil's advocate, right? Because, you know, for me, myself, in high school, I knew I was attracted to women, right? But I had to act as if I wasn't, because in the sports that I played in, or specifically my teammates, the people that I was around the most were like, ew, you're gay? Like, they didn't want to be around you. So I pushed that away. When I got to college, I purposely went away for college because I was like, I want to separate myself from this. I want to be able to be myself and just be in a space that I can be myself. I got to college, and in being myself, I was like, heck, people like me? Yes, please. Yes, come here. Take your number. Number 1, yes, hello. Please tell me about yourself. Yeah. You know, so I can understand the thought process of being in a space where you didn't have that opportunity to now having that opportunity and exploring that, right? I am not against that. However, even for myself, it was exploring it still with limitations. So it wasn't like, hey, all these people like me. Yes, let me get this rotation at 8 or 10 or hell, even 3. Honest to God, I don't want to talk to more than 2 people in a day for a good period of time. Like, I mean, I cannot keep consistent conversation with that many people in one day.
Listen, you sound like me.
Much work. Yeah. So I applaud for a rotation of that extent. Right. But again, for me, the difference is being able to say, hey, you know what? I've never done this. I've had the chance. And now here's a space where I can find comfort in myself and being able to move forward how I want to.
So let me ask you, do you think that it requires one to be a fuck boy or fuck girl, whatever the term would be for a female, to juggle 8 people?
Yes. You cannot have 8 people and be honest with all 8 people.
No, so I will disagree. I had a point in my life where I was dating 3 people and I was honest with them. I was honest with all 3.
Though.
Yes, but I still think of it in the sense
you're like, I could have gotten 8.
No. Well, I didn't want to get to 8. I think that the difference is just a matter of being honest with yourself and being honest with these people. Right? Okay. Because there is stuff that, you know, he brought up and I agree. He's like, hey, I just met you. I don't know you. I don't know that I want to be exclusive with you. So I do think it can be unfair to think if I met somebody on a dating app, you're only dating me for sure. You are in this space of, if this was a job, you're in the interview process, right? So I get that. But again, it is just reality and being honest back to that.
I think it's possible to have 8 people who you can call on for sex. Like, I think that's possible. I don't think it's possible to have 8 people who you can consistently go on dates with. And I think he alluded to the fact that it's complex for him because there's only 7 days in a week. And so It seems like it's not just, because there's people you can literally just text. They're strictly fuck buddies. Like, you text them Saturday night, they'll come true, right? And so I think that's possible. I don't know. When I think of like his situation, I struggle to think that even if you are willing to be honest, I struggle to think that if you're actually dating people, 8 people would be okay with you being honest about the fact that you're dating 8 of them. Like, so I just struggle to think that you're actually being honest. I don't know.
I refuse to believe that. I refuse to believe it.
I couldn't be one of the 8.
UTIs that they must experience is so ridiculous. I refuse to believe it. Sorry.
I'm with you on that one too. But I was going to say too, that conversation that I had earlier about the 4 people, that it brings me back to expectations. 3 of them expected sex. And so they never called me again.
Right.
Right? Because my honesty about this is where I am with this space and this is all I want from you was the thing that actually ended up saving me.
Okay.
Is that they self-selected themselves, right? In terms of like saying, oh, nope, that's not what I want.
Right.
I don't need somebody who I'm helping to rebuild.
Right.
So but I'm going to agree with you on though. I feel like having 8 people and managing that is really a difficult thing. I don't think that it's not about the managing different people. It is a managing that number, right? I feel like the number is what gets me more than the process.
Exactly. Because if he actually told all 8 people, you're one of 8, would they still be sleeping with him? No. They would not.
No.
They would, it's easier to say, oh, you're not the only one. That's okay. I'm thinking that there's another person that I have to compete with, not 8 other people.
But
Jesus.
so I do want to say though, I think that even in being honest, you don't have to be honest like, hey, well, just before I saw you, I saw number 6. I don't think that it has to be that level of honesty.
Right.
But there is a difference of saying, hey, so what are we? Like, you know what? I'm still just getting to know you. I do want you to know that I am also talking to other people. That's honest. I'm not saying
no. What would
all of the others were here just before you got here.
Fucking other people.
Right.
Don't be like talking like it's all just innocent. No,
having tea. Tea time.
But still, even saying that I'm engaging with other people, it still gives you the opportunity to say, oh, you're engaging with other people? I'm going to withhold sex because you may be having sex with these other people, and I don't choose to do that if that's the case, right?
Well, especially if the person knows your friend group. I don't want you dipping into that well at all.
Right.
Like, don't have sex with my friends. He's saying like, oh, the true level of fuckboy that he aspires to would be to get friends or to have friends. But I was like,
and have them stigmatized because they
to
don't come
have
back.
them exactly. But do you realize how easily you could get hurt fucking with friends? I mean, that's some slash your tires, come up to your job and make a scene type
Break the windows out your car.
Exactly. Like it all fun and games on TV, but in reality, you don't want that drama, It's too much. You think it's work handling 8.
But I would.
You're going to handle 16 personalities because each one got 2.
But I even wonder though that it may be fun. This wasn't expressed, but there may be some sort of fun in that.
He did say it was fun.
Right.
It gets kind of fun when you got 8 people to play with.
Right. So even the drama of it may be fun, right? Because again, if my thought is I want to feel like you feel some sort of way, you acting out of character, you acting crazy, slashing my tires, I'm gonna be like, damn, I hit that good because she can't. I'm doing that.
The bit I struggle with is like from what I took from conversation, I would guess he's in his 40s ish. Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds about right.
I think probably late.
Okay. All right. So here's my thing. Like, I get all of this. Like, I get how it's fun, especially when you've come from a place where you're not getting attention and then you're all of a sudden getting all this attention. I understand it. What I don't understand is how does it persist for 20 years? Because it gets tiring. You don't want to. Okay, the first time someone stashes your tires, it's like, okay, cool. Like, the second time it's like, come on, man. My insurance premium, like this, like, bro. Like, I don't know. At a certain point, I think you get bored of these things. And I don't understand. And I think that it should be natural to get bored. So I don't understand the consistent desire for these sort of situations. That's what confuses me.
But to even get to a situation like that, you're aging out. You keep getting older, and for you to find more women who want to participate in this, you're going to have to go younger. Yeah. And at some point, you're going to be walking around with a girl half your age, and everybody's going to be like,
Well, because at that point, truly, I was going to even bring it up. He's no longer going to be a fuckboy. He's going to be a sugar daddy at that point. That's what he's transitioning into.
He's transitioning into that. And he may be like, no, I'll never let a woman use me like that. I was like, you still want to get some ass, don't you? But you're walking around as an older man and you still want ass, though.
Well, I think you mentioned too that the trajectory of this is he is open to ending this and getting up with one person that's mutual. He did open up that path that he's open to that. So I do think in his mind, he's thinking about it, that this current path is not a sustainable, right? And I'm open to the one I want. Right. Yeah.
He's open to the throuple.
He's open to the throuple because in his mind, that's the ideal, because he knows he won't be able to get one woman to be loyal to him, knowing how he's had years of being disloyal and dishonest and a player or whatever. What woman is going to want to open up her heart and loyalty to a man like that?
Well, that's why I said
they're not going to want to.
That's why I
so
said
he can trick her into thinking, well, I just want a relationship where I can have a lot of sex. So let's just have it me, you, and her. And she's going to maybe be down for that. You know, but the pool of women who are down for that are going to get smaller and smaller as you get older and older.
100%.
You know?
I also got the impression that he doesn't think he can be monogamous. Like, not just that she won't leave him, but like he wants to experience things outside. And I think where he's misguided, because I think he has a sort of superficial understanding of polyamory and its challenges. So he thinks I can be in a throuple and I have multiple women and my needs are satisfied in that sense. So that makes sense for me. But you always desire more. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he understands.
See, that's because he's never lived with a woman. Does he not realize that periods sink? So if you can't have sex with one, you can't have sex with the other. So how the hell you think that you're going to use the second one as backup for the first? When they start living together, they're going to sync up.
I think he actually
they're both out of commission.
He wants variety.
I mean, right? Technically, there's multiple holes.
That's so true.
They're not out. Correct. They're not out.
Correct.
He wants variety, but I think like that's fun. That's funny. Like he wants variety, but I don't think he recognizes that. I think a lot of people who aren't polyamorous yet, they don't recognize that you can still want more. I've even been in a polyamorous relationship. You can have two people and still want more because you will get bored. The issue is you're getting bored of the situation. And he talked about it. He got bored of being monogamous. You will get bored of being in a throuple. You will want that one other woman because she's new. She's fresh.
I'm having a hard time connecting with polyamorous because to me, polyamorous means relationship. And I don't feel the fuckboy thing is about relationships at all.
Correct.
Right. At least not about that type of relationship. And so the connection I'm having, the disconnect I'm having is that there's much more feelings involved when you're polyamorous. Whereas in this situation, it really is about just the options you're talking about. There's the other stuff, be damned.
Well, that's, I agree with you. I do think that it is the means to cut off feelings. Right. And that's the reason why he navigates in the space that he does. I do think that he may be getting tired of it, which is why there are the considerations of these things. And because he has carried on in a way where he's always dealt with multiple women, the consideration is, oh, well, in trying to settle down of some sort or leave this lifestyle, I either need to be polyamorous so I can still continue to date multiple women, or I need to be in a throuple where I can still have multiple women, right? And when I think of polyamory, nope, I don't want that because I'm telling you, you can do the same thing I'm doing. Right. And I don't want you to do that.
Exactly.
Right?
He doesn't want,
right.
He wants the women to be completely faithful while he gets to turn around and do whatever.
Correct. So what works for me is a throuple because now it's going to be two women. We go all live in this house together. We go split bills. So now I have more money and y'all will be here for me. So when I come home, y'all are ready and waiting for me. Yeah. Because Daddy Dick ain't been home all day.
I'm sorry. But if a guy is approaching me for a throuple, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I get to have two guys? You're cool with that? Right. I mean, like, he may be like, well, no, that's not what I want. I'm like, oh, okay, so you're just using me as a tool. You're not really into like this throuple lifestyle. You just want to use women as tools for you to validate you. Okay, well, if one woman is too busy to give me a back rub and talk me down from whatever emotional thing I'm going through, then there's another person there. Mm-hmm. Well, you're not thinking that maybe two of those people don't want to do that, you know?
Well, there's so much successful episodes of Sister Wives on TLC.
Well, I just thought that, but I found out I don't even watch that show. But he's lost most of his wives at this point.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes. He wasn't, I mean, technically he's not only legally married to one of them, but I mean, the one that he was legally married to divorced him.
Yeah.
So
can I wanted to get clarification on this, because when he said throuple, was he referring to just a closed sexual relationship where it's like so he wasn't referring to a romantic relationship where there's a dynamic. So like, I don't remember fully, but was he open to the idea of two of them having an emotional connection, the two women? So
the way that he said it was when he's not around, that they could do whatever it is that they wanted to do as well on their own. Right. Yeah. And he spoke on it in the terms of sex. Right. Which fine, whatever. That's where his mind was at mentally. But he was like, this is a relationship where it'd be me and two girlfriends essentially. And they themselves would be their own girlfriends to one another as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he.
I mean, I'm still having a hard time just in general, because I do feel like the experience that I've seen play out is that when you invite that into your household, you may think that it's going in a certain direction, but emotions and feelings don't follow your plan. Right.
Yeah.
They may end up kicking you out.
Right.
It's like, or they may not mesh well, and then they both want to be out of the situation.
100%.
Right. So it doesn't always go according to plan. And it's super messy. And I'm just telling you, I haven't had this experience myself, but I have lived through watching this experience, and it's downright ugly.
Yeah. That's why they always have those things that come up on murder shows where they were like doing some, experimenting, and then they enter in a third person. Next thing you know, somebody's getting murdered.
Yeah.
Or sleeping in their car. Well, they don't want to go back in the house.
Right. But I even think that, and not to say that chances are it won't work, but I think of, for relationships as such to work, throuple, poly, and all of those things, you have to be able to effectively communicate. And one thing that I know that this man cannot do is effectively communicate. Or I shouldn't say it in that way, but the way that his communication has been with the people that he is dealing with is not effectively communicating, right? So you are not going to shift, as you said, years of doing it this way to now in a space where now you have to be honest, communicating. It means that you are expressing, hey, here's how I feel. Here's what I want. Here's what I don't want. And bring in two other people into this and think that it's going to be glitter and rainbow and all of that stuff. And everything is going to work out fine. It won't work that way.
It does require you to be more vulnerable. And I think that might be an issue. Sorry.
Yes, I think that how he's able to juggle all those people is by holding a little bit back from himself, a little bit back of the truth of who he is or what he's doing in terms of relationships with other people. He's definitely holding that back. So when you try to get into a relationship with someone after years of holding back yourself from people, it's not going to go as easy as you want it to go. They're going to recognize what you're holding back, and then they're going to hold back. And then you're going to wonder, why can't I connect with them? Why don't they trust me? Why won't they, open up to me or be loyal to me? It's because, like you said, lack of communication. Like they can't communicate with you, and then they can't trust you, and then they can't be loyal to you. So if that's what you're eventually wanting, it's not going to happen, bro, because you don't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. You don't know how to do it.
And I just also think that the relationship, based on what I take out of it, there can't be anybody that's more quote unquote dominant than he is in the relationship. Mm-hmm. Even as a woman.
That's a key part. Like I had it playing in my head because I grew up in a society where you had people who were polygamous. And the key thing in societies situations like that is there's a very clear power dynamic. If you're going to be the one man who has these women around you, right, it's because they have to, I think, buy into the idea that your very nature as a man makes you somehow superior and deserving of more in this arrangement than they are. And so, yeah, I don't know to what degree that's feasible here. Like being as bigamy is
illegal,
crime, right? Yeah, it's a crime. And I think mentality-wise, I think obviously people are more liberal and whatnot. So I think maybe this is why he hasn't realized this fantasy, because it's just, I think it's impractical.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have billionaire money. The way he wants is to be able to have these women at his disposal, but you're not a billionaire. You don't have the funds to make that happen.
You've made it to the end. I think you found your show, and with that, a community that will take you to places few others will go. What you discovered, what many others will know, is that the Poet God podcast is the very exemplification of artistry in audio.